Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Robert Murillo here, broker associate with Team Aroa, powered by Compass, license number BK3373543. Here with John.
Good morning, everybody. John Sepulveda, the origin point on MLS 1309244. Glad to be here. Day number 5 of the DM.
Day 5, the DM, Florida Real Estate. Welcome back. We are excited here. We're about to wrap up the second half of tips for first-time home buyers. John, how would you grade your week so far?
It's been interesting for sure. A lot of activity, from Monday to through yesterday. We obviously had the Fed, raise and 25 basis points, and the market reacting to it. Banking world is reacting to it. Overnight, the shares of Deutsche Bank in Europe has gone down like 13%. So they're starting to panic in Europe. Investors are. So it's going to be messy. I mean, we're going to have a messy, days coming ahead, and we knew that this week. So we'll see what the banking kind of crisis brings our way. I mean, there's a lot of concern. There's a lot of people saying, looking at, balance sheets. I've been, listening to a lot of interviews and, people that are in that industry, and they're saying this was just the first shoe to drop, and it's going to be ugly. So let's see what happens.
Is there any hope for the first-time home buyer looking to buy a home?
There's always hope for the first-time home buyer. Conventional Fannie Mae, they delayed what we're talking about this week. And then I read further into it, what you asked me about this week about the loan level price adjustments for the high DTI.
Okay.
And I read an interesting article, and it made a lot of sense, actually. So what, in essence, I mean, and this is, I've always known this, like this, when there's and we talked about it earlier this week too, about FHA loans, how, during the pandemic, some people, buyers with FHA loans were not really, the offers were not kind of left aside, and so on and so forth.
Disregarded. So
FHA is a phenomenal program, and up to below 760, right? So if you're above 760 credit score, conventional is always going to be the best option. Like there's no, but below 760, and the lower the credit score is, the better option FHA becomes. It just payment wise. And now that they just reduced the mortgage insurance premium by quite a bit, that makes a big difference in, in the monthly payment, again, especially on the lower FICO score. So, below 680 all day long, because on a conventional below 680, the mortgage insurance premium is really high. So that offsets a lot the FHA. So FHA becomes a, more affordable option. So what I read, the article that I read on the loan level, price adjustments and holding off on it from Fannie, the person who wrote it was implying that would just make it easier for people to kind of gravitate towards FHA at the high DTI levels, because it's even going to be, when they implement that, it's going to be an even bigger difference in the rate, in the payment rather, between FHA and conventional. Now what's happening is that all the lenders had already programmed the loan level price adjustments into the system. It's already been built into the pricing engines.
But so you said that's on hold, right? It's not in effect yet?
They put it on hold. However, for the most part, my understanding is that lenders are already built that into the system, like put it in the system already, right? So the rates
you can already play with the scenarios, is what you're saying.
No. It's already built into the pricing. Like it's already, because the pricing, when you price a loan, you put the parameters, purchase price, down payment, credit score, single family, owner occupied, investment, blah, blah, blah. You put all the parameters in there, and the system, in our case, Optimal Blue, and that's
okay. So the formula is already in the software.
It's already in the software for lenders to include those adjustments. So now they have to take them out, obviously, right? Because they're not implementing them. So it's something that was already like set to go, and they realized, oh, this is a big mistake. There was a lot of lenders were kind of speaking out against it. because that was just
Yeah.
that's just gonna bring up the rate. That's really that adjustment is just going to bring up the rate. So obviously, given the situation and the high rates already, lenders were concerned about, hey, this is going to make it more unaffordable.
Yeah. And I
Which is, I'm
think,
sure,
I
why
mean,
they delayed it.
it sounds like that's becoming the goal, is to make the things unaffordable.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
I don't know. I guess let's just continue into these tips. We gave you guys tips, what you need to know. A couple of the first few, or the first half of them yesterday, John didn't really agree with,
What
which
do
is
you mean? I agree to all of them.
fine. No, it's okay. It's okay to disagree. I actually see a couple of them in here that I don't agree with today. So we're gonna go through the rest of the list, and yeah, give you guys first time home buyer tips, what you need to know, how you should approach it, and what the mindset should be so that you can go through the process seamlessly and comfortably and successfully, first and foremost, right?
Absolutely.
Then we're gonna talk about uh John's future workshop and see how you guys can get involved to get some financial coaching going on as well. So we are here on 6 out of 10, which is do your research, right? Before making an offer on a home, research neighborhood, schools, and other factors that could affect your quality of life. I absolutely agree with this one. People should most definitely do their research on the neighborhood. Um, that's part of what comes with hiring a reputable real estate agent and or lender, right? Who are both local and relatable and understand the market that they're in and understand the ideal lifestyle you would like to be a part of,
Mm-hmm.
right? 'Cause that's part of buying a home is the home comes with a community that comes with a lifestyle that is generally, congruent with the rest of your neighbors and everybody else who's involved in the community. So what do you think, John?
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that. I would say, or I would add to it. Number one, the first, what you said, that comes with working with a professional agent and lender. That's what it is, right? So, the listeners should, the viewers should really keep an eye on that and do work with somebody who's a professional. In my personal case, I have this tool that I utilize called the neighborhood report card.
Mhm.
So people, they give me the address, I put it in the system. When I have my one-on-one with them, we have a video conference, I share my screen, I put it on my screen, I show them, talks about schools and just all the metrics that go along with that. But at least gives people an idea what they're getting into, because a lot of people go buy a house, and I mean, if you're, correct me if you see something different, but the way I see it, people usually navigate towards different areas based on price. As they get
Yeah.
priced out of a certain area what they know, what they're used to, they get priced out of it. They start going out further out to new areas where their pricing is more in their price range. And usually they'll get a list of here are the schools, but the name of a school doesn't really tell you anything, unless the school has a really good rep or a really bad rep. That's all you're going to really know by the name of the school. So you definitely need to do some, or you should definitely do some research onto, that neighborhood and stuff. So
I was gonna ask you if that report card, that neighborhood report card, shows you the the grade of the school.
it shows you the grade of the school, and it shows, I mean, it shows you property, how many people live in that area, how many houses are available in the area, the demand in the area. I mean, it's really, really, really comprehensive information.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be cool if we can pull a sample of a neighborhood and have that. We can have a link to that for people to check out and see, like, all right, this is what a home or this is a neighborhood report card for the Dr. Phillips area or
Oh,
for
we can work on that.
Alakaya.
Yeah, let's connect on that and do something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and then to add, sorry, before I lose and to add to the research part, I would the second part is people should be careful, because one thing I see is the one that does too much research. And two
Mhm.
things happen. They either get paralysis of analysis from all the stuff that they're looking at. Now they get confused. And the second thing that happens is they get a lot of wrong information, because all the research is usually done online.
Mhm.
And then people just start going online, and they get too much information. So I would say do your research, start your research, and it goes back to the first half of the answer. You got to work with a professional agent and a professional lender who's gonna answer your questions without you having to do the research. Because people have the questions in their minds. They don't need to do research to the questions. They need to do research to find the answer. So if they reach out to, you, myself, professional agent who's local, who knows what they're doing, who works in the local neighborhood and has this type of service, they'll be able to answer those questions for the homeowners. And the ones that they still have left after that, then they can further research and get the information.
Yeah, that's why before I plug in any filters on the collections for my clients, actually I review every home before I send them anything, because I like to make sure I'm not sending them anything that is clearly not in the neighborhood or the areas that they want to be in.
Mm.
So that's number one. And then when they do say yes to a home, part of my service, what I do, and the research that I do is, even for buyers, I do a CMA before we submit an offer, just so that they are aware of what the market is saying on the value of the home,
Mm-hmm.
and they can make a conscious decision, and for us to understand whether or not we need contingencies, um whether or not they want to consider, like, if it is really the home that they need and the seller's not willing to comply with contingencies, finance contingencies, whether or not they have the money to pay extra if necessary on an appraisal gap, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I enlighten them on information about the neighborhood if I happen to know the neighborhood very well. Um, Other than that, do whatever research I can for them and get them information based on the questions that they ask.
That's the, I mean, that's the perfect, or I don't know if the perfect, but the proper way of doing that, with a buyer. That should be it. That research from your
Mhm.
part, and then from my part is the same. It's just, again, providing that resource and that information. My focus is more on the financial part, obviously, than on the property part. Um,
Mhm.
but that neighborhood report card is just a tool that I have access to, that, it makes it easier for people to visualize and to have that information. So
Yeah.
definitely research is
So
very, very important.
absolutely, absolutely. So what I'll do is I'll also include a link for a CMA so that they can have an example as well of what I provide. So, number seven, get a home inspection. A home inspection can uncover hidden problems with a property that could cost you thousands of dollars in repairs down the road. And this cannot be stressed enough. I tell people, I don't care if the house is brand new. If the home is brand new, yeah, the builders are doing their inspections and they're going through their permitting process, so they have to have it inspected to pass each phase of the construction of the home. Still get a home inspection, and outside a third party home inspection. Um, Home inspections used to run between uh let's just say between $400 to $600. Now they can run between $500 to $800. But the reason why I say that is because you don't want to forget about your add-on inspections, right? A general home inspection might be between $300 to $400, but your add-ons is the important stuff. So the WDO inspection, right? Wood destroying organisms, that checks for termites and bugs around the property, within wood, within the walls. Wind mitigation, your 4-point inspection, and all that is is not only better for you to know that information, but can also help with discounts on your insurance premium,
And yeah,
on your homeowner's insurance. So what on the lender side, what type of inspection is necessary when someone's financing a deal? What is the minimum that is required?
The termite for an FHA loan. That's
That's
really
the
what
minimum requirement?
yeah, if on an FHA loan, they need the termite inspection. There's no additional reporting that needs to be done. And on the FHA appraisal, there will be, the appraiser will note if, for example, there's peeling paint, the appraiser will note that has to be, and that'll have to be repaired prior
Mhm.
to closing. So
Or if there's a
there'll
cracked
be,
window?
or if there's a cracked window, over yeah, I mean, whatever of the, and different safety issues that are, if they come up on the appraisal, it'll be noted in the appraisal, and then the repairs will have to get done, and then the appraiser has to do a final inspection, make sure that it was done. So it's all, any inspections are through the appraiser
Mhm.
for an appraisal issue, or they'll need the termite.
What about appliances? Appliances have to be included on the FHA home purchase?
Just the stove as the like regular, not, there's no difference between FHA and a conventional loan. Like there's no, they don't get into
Okay,
that.
I
It's
think
all FHA. It's all about, it's more, they need to be pictures of the attic. If there's an attic, that attic or crawl space, there has to be pictures of that included in the report.
okay.
And they look
So
a little
that's
bit different. The two appraisal reports look a little bit different. And it's all about the safety, so peeling paint or exposed wires or broken windows, that type of stuff. Handrails that are loose or missing, outlets that are not covered, like electrical outlets, things like that. It's all safety
Mhm.
features.
When was the last time you did you financed a buyer on a new construction home?
The last time,
Yeah.
June of last, before I came over to Origin Point. So I was
Okay.
working with a builder. So all the ones I did were new.
Okay. Okay. So how did that process differ from doing a loan on a pre-existing home?
In what sense?
In any sense, did it differ?
Not at all. It's the
Not at all.
same process. Yeah, no, there's no difference other than if it's a to be built, and they buy it, the buyer buys it today and they haven't built it yet, right? It's a to be built. It'll be some
Mhm.
time, right? 6 months, 8 months, could be a year, whatever, depending on the builder and on the community and the lot and all the stuff. So other than the time it takes to close, because the house is being built, there's
Mhm.
really no difference in the process.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I definitely I've had a couple of instances, I would say at least two, where I've strongly suggested for my buyers to get a home inspection outside of the builder for their homes.
I had buyers. I mean, I had both. I had buyers who did not do a home inspection, and I had buyers who did do a home inspection. Usually the buyers that did a home inspection were working with an agent, and they who was, more prepared or more professional, or, or better. I mean, I don't want to, whatever the word is, but that's usually what I saw when, that those are the buyers that did the inspections on the new construction.
Hmm.
And, there were issues that people found stuff on the inspection and the new construction.
Yeah.
So in a sense, it's the buyer thus goes through the expense of paying for it. On the, the good part of it is they do the inspection, and because of the warranty from the builder on the new construction, I mean, all the stuff gets taken care of, and the buyer, you know what I mean? It's the fixing process is, I would think, a little bit easier on the new construction than on a, existing home, because the builder has people there ready to do it, and they do it right away because it's a new construction. I found
Hmm.
that process to be slightly different when there were issues with the inspection. But
Yeah.
there was a good, there was not, I mean, definitely higher number of people did not do an inspection on the new property than, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I see that a lot. I see that a lot. They put a lot of trust into the builders. Um, which I mean is good. There are a lot of reputable builders out there, but let's be honest, when they're mass producing these homes, um, sometimes in some cases they do miss some attention to detail.
100%. I mean, there's just no volume, and it's just yeah, I mean, mistakes happen, things happen. It's definitely, you definitely should be to protect yourself and do a home inspection.
Yep, yep, yep. All right, so let's go on to number 8. Be prepared to negotiate. Don't be afraid to negotiate with sellers to get the best price and terms on your new home. That's especially true for today's market.
100%.
Especially true for today's market.
Yeah.
Now that we see, after all the accelerated home prices, we see, sellers not only being more realistic, but being more reasonable on dropping the price and or contributing to the deal.
Mhm.
Whereas before it was, you know what, I'm not doing anything. I don't have to. If you don't want to close, we have another buyer.
Yep.
Is two different extremes, two
Mm.
opposite ends of the spectrum. So
100%.
what are the tips that you have to offer on negotiations?
My tip is don't negotiate with emotion. Um,
Mhm.
you know, don't love the property so much that you're blinded to issues and you're going into, you know, overbidding, by $50,000 on the price. You know what I mean? That's an emotional purchase, and that's just, that cannot lead to anything that's good. You know what I mean? So my advice would be just don't get emotional into it. It's not easy, especially if it's your first home. If it's not an easy process and you can get emotional. But if you
Oh,
allow yourself to
absolutely.
you make mistakes. I had an experience that happened to me, my first new house, right? Because I came from Massachusetts. There's not too much new construction in Massachusetts. That's not really a thing. You don't really, I mean, there are way outside, but I lived in the city. So there was no such thing as new construction in the city. So when I
Mhm.
came here, it was the first time I had an opportunity to purchase a new construction, to be
Yeah.
built. And I did that, and blah blah blah. Long story short, the property did not appraise.
Mm.
And I
What
from the
year was
beginning,
this?
this was in 2018.
Okay.
And I knew the property was not going 2019, sorry. Well, yeah, it started in 2018.
Okay.
And I knew the property was not gonna, I had my doubts. I liked the property. I got into it, whatever, did the offer, the thing, finished it up. Obviously, I'm in, obviously I'm a lender, right? I didn't do my own loan because I'm not able to do my own loan, but obviously I'm, going through the transaction, and didn't appraise by 30 grand.
Mhm.
Um, and I did have a contingency, and when I spoke to the builder, it was a small builder, and I was like, let's split the difference. I'll drop it 15, and you give me 15 extra. I said, absolutely not. I'm not going in upside down. And he's
Mhm.
like, well, you don't understand. The properties are going to appraise, and the value goes up, and this and that. I'm like, are you forgetting what I do for a living? This is what I do. It's not, it's just not
They were
happening.
they were selling you.
Yeah, and then he tried.
However, nonetheless, it wound up being true.
Well, but then he flipped it, and he tried to go with the emotional. Well, as you're going to lose your first, brand new home, blah blah blah, and we were excited, obviously, and ready to move, and we already had like it was ready. It was the appraisal. It was at the end of the process,
Mhm.
and I was like, I'm not going in upside down. He's like, well, then we cancel the contract. I was like, okay, I guess we cancel the contract. I mean, that was my exact reaction. I was like, okay, I guess we cancel the contract. Let's,
Mhm.
next. I totally just, let's finish it. And I mean, unless he said, no, wait, okay, I'll give you the price of what appraised value. I was not negotiating anything.
So you ended up not going into that home.
No, cancel the contract.
Nice. Did you get your
Yeah.
deposit back?
Oh yeah, of course. Cause I had my contract. I had the contingency. I was protected. I had no, you know what I mean? I had no issue.
Okay.
And he
How
knew
much
that.
how
And,
much did you have deposited on that?
whatever it was, 20 grand. I mean, whatever it was. I don't remember what the, I don't remember what the
Who was the builder?
small,
Okay, a
like
local builder.
it's local builder. Yeah, no, it wasn't
Okay,
a big
okay,
builder.
okay.
Yeah, it was a small local builder. It wasn't. I mean, the guy was. It wasn't. He was, obviously, he didn't want to start the process again with a new buyer, and he didn't want to cancel it. But
Mhm.
he was like, no, I'm not going to reduce the price. Give half. That was just as far as he got. I said, no, I'm not. 30 grand or 15. If I took his job, I'm going into a transaction upside down $15,000. I mean, that's just
Mhm. It didn't make logical sense.
But then, that's like back in 2007. Oh, no, the house will appraise. Wait 2 years and the value and the like. No, it doesn't work
So let
that
me
way.
ask you this. You were able to make that logical decision, right? Uh, was it hard for you to convince your wife to agree with that decision? No?
Not on my wife is, because she was there with me. She understands the process and kind of what we're doing. And
Do
that's the
you
challenge,
think
though. The
do you think it
emotional,
would have been different if you weren't a lender?
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Because you get the emotion, and that's why my advice is you cannot get emotional. And I'm speaking from experience,
Mhm.
because it's not
I
easy to
call
do.
that I call that the used car syndrome, right? Because 99.9% of the time when you purchase a used car, it's not until you're totally blinded to all of the defects of that used vehicle until the day you drive away.
Hmm.
And then you start noticing
You start
all the
noticing.
little things
Mhm.
in the crevices of the vehicle, and it's like, fuck, I didn't. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't. We don't usually curse on the podcast, but it's whatever. It's our podcast, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, damn, I didn't see this before
Hmm.
signing the dotted line.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
The emotional. I mean,
the
because you get
emotional
emotional.
could mask the logical, rational things you should be looking at when it comes to, because it's just like you said, if somebody says, hey, the interest rate is 8.5 and this is your dream home, guess what? You're signing on that deal.
Hmm.
If you want it that bad, you're definitely signing.
But
So
I mean, the emotional part there, if it's their dream home, they're signing on the deal, right? They're going to do it. But if they're being offered 8.5%, but the market is really at 6.5%, I mean, this doesn't happen. I'm making up, conversation here, but you know what I mean? Even if it's your dream home, you go, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Let me look at this. You know what I mean?
mhm,
I don't know, seller financing, right? That could be a situation. You find a dream
yeah.
home, you can't afford it, or, you don't qualify, whatever the case is. In seller, I'll do the financing, and the seller will give you, the rate's 7%. I'll do it for 9%. Seller can do that, and then the
You know,
buyer
we
could.
gotta we gotta talk about that seller financing because I had a seller ask me recently how the seller financing works. Like, because what they were interested in, they would consider seller financing, but they were wondering how they can sell the note off to another investor after they close on that.
Well, the only way they can do that is they own the home free and clear.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so if they own free and
They
clear,
do.
I mean, then I guess that, I mean, I wouldn't finding somebody who would, another hard money lender who would take it. I don't know. I mean, I've never gone into
Yeah.
that part of the financial, or lending, that sellers doing financing and then selling it off to an investor. I haven't gone
Yeah, yeah,
to that
yeah. I
part.
wanna
Yeah.
I wanna look into that.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's see. Number 9, budget for ongoing expenses. Major, major, major tip here. In addition to your mortgage, right, you'll need to budget for ongoing expenses like utilities, maintenance, and repairs. All right. So first of all, this is very important early on, right? When they get their initial loan estimate. And first of all, understanding principal and interest, and then PITI, the PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and then understanding that this payment does not include your light bill, your water bill, cable, internet, and phone, amongst
Absolutely.
other things, lawn maintenance, all that stuff. So this is extremely important. What do you think?
Do you see the thing in the back? Coaching. That's the number one thing. You know what I mean? That's the budget. I mean, the sad part is only 3% of population have a budget that
Mhm,
they actually write down and that they keep, track of their monthly bill. So for the most part, people do run their finances using mental math,
mhm.
which is great. Nothing wrong with that. Some of us are better than others at being able to do mental math.
I mean, there's a lot wrong with that, in my opinion.
Well,
Think about
But
it.
it,
Like we said yesterday, most people die with less than $1,000 in their bank account.
1000% agree. The problem is that the sad reality is that the majority of people do not have a budget.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tedious task. It takes a lot of work. It's a pain in the butt to be doing. But you have to. That's the only way you can truly have control of your finances, having a budget. So
So
you need to.
is that an exercise that you do in your workshops, in your financial coaching workshops?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. That's
And
the main thing. It's just, that's where it starts.
when you do that exercise as a group activity, kind of describe how does that work? How much time do you allocate for that exercise, and how does it work with when
To
you do it as a group?
But you mean, do I like show people how to actually like do it in the workshop, the budget?
Yeah,
No, we don't. I know. I mean, it's impossible to do that because everybody's budget is different, and people would
Mhm.
not open up in an open space like that. You need one-on-one. What I do in the workshop is show the pain of not having a budget, and just show why. You know what I mean? It's just educate. But doing the actual budget, I mean, I do general parameters and I give them a sample budget that I've done for them, and and it gives them it's already done. All you really have to do is just put the dollar amount of your
Plug in
expenses
your number. The number's personal to you.
per person's right. And it's a challenge because people do not have one for their regular, for their personal lives, like their daily lives. They do not have a budget. It's all mental math. So
But you know what's crazy to me is the fact that people already do that. They already pay for these things, but they also pay a rent. So not only are you paying somebody else's mortgage, but you're also paying your utilities. You're also paying the maintenance on the property, right? You're just restricted as to what you can do in the property that you're renting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So essentially, I mean, I don't know. I think having a budget is extremely important. And I think going through that exercise is key. And that budget, how often do you suggest for that budget to be reviewed and
Every month.
adjusted?
You got to do it every month. You got to. Oh, that's actually daily. It's not every month. I mean, you got to track your expenses daily. Now, it's very easy nowadays. There's a whole bunch of apps that you can do, and they track your expenses, and they kind of tell you everything. But you have to do the work. I mean, you got to track it daily. You need to, how much cash you spent, because it's the little things, right? I mean, for the most part, everybody knows how much they pay for their car, how much they pay for their credit cards, how much they pay for their insurance. The big things for the most people, they know what they spend it on. But the
Mhm.
problem with I have found with people's finances is the little things. Those are the little leaks that sink the ship.
Mhm.
It's the Starbucks every morning when you go into the office. And the whatever, I don't know I don't drink at Starbucks, so I don't know how much I'm a Dunks guy, so I don't know how much, but it's, a small mortgage, a second mortgage to buy a cup of coffee, so, but if you add, I mean, what's a cup of coffee in Starbucks? $5, $6? I don't know.
At a minimum,
$4. I don't know, whatever, say $4, but if you do 4 times 5, that's $20 a week times 4 weeks, that's $80 a month.
that's 80.
You know what I mean? And that's just the cup of coffee in the morning. What about the one in the afternoon? What about the one in the break? I mean, it's just all those little things that people do not keep track of. That's what sinks the ship. Because at
Mhm.
the end of the day, if you make $5,000 a month and you spend 5,100, you're in the red $100. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
unfortunately, most people, it's not 100. It's a lot more than 100. And it's those little leaks that you don't keep track of, and you just don't, you don't keep track of it, and you don't pay attention to those little things. And that's where the discipline comes in. So it's a daily, it's a pain. It's a lot of work. It's hard. But if you like, when you, I mean, you may not realize that, right? From the realtor perspective, you don't necessarily get into that conversation with buyers, right? About their finances, like that, right?
I try to.
But I mean, but some people.
I try to, unless I notice that they feel uncomfortable talking about it. Because
Right.
I know something I noticed about buyers is that unless they fully trust you, they are, I mean, we're in sales. So one, they look their whatever their perception is of a realtor before we get into the nitty-gritty details, they might have their walls up. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, granted, I tend to have a good effect on my buyers, but in some cases, before that barrier is broken, they're kind of like, "Oh, I don't want to share too much with you." Just like I said in the other episode, when I was like, "Hey, you can disclose how much you have saved up. It's not like I can remove it from your bank account or my lender can't take the money away from you. We're not going to force you to spend it all, right?" So some buyers are very cautious about how much they share related to their finances,
One
right?
100%. And then, and on top, I would add to that is some buyers are very conscious to what they share about their personal finances from a perspective of they feel, embarrassed to share. Like if they have a low credit score,
Shame.
or
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So people are afraid of that. So that's where where in
They're
my
either
case,
trying to protect what they do have, what
what
they've
the,
accumulated,
exactly.
or protect what other people think of them because they may not be in the best situation.
Exactly. Now, in my case, when I do see the credit, I do see that. Like, there's no, unfortunately or fortunately, right? Because I'm not able to help them if I don't see it. So with
Mhm.
the credit, I see it, right? It's in the credit, so I can have that conversation because, like, okay, tell me about this, and then opens up, and it's I can see a conversation. But I can't tell from looking at somebody's credit and their finances, obviously. But I can definitely put them in a box where okay, these people have a budget. Like you could tell when somebody's finances, when you look at somebody's finances and the way they have their payments and the way that they have, and you speak to them, like they know they have a budget. They know what they make. Because when I talk to somebody, it's what do you do? How long you been doing it for?
How much do you make?
How much you make? And then the next one is, do you have any debts? Yes. Okay. What do you have? Car payments, student loans, and then, how many credit cards more or less do you have? Some people tell me I got 4. I got my balance and this and that. What's the minimum monthly payment? It's this, but I pay this, right? That's somebody has a budget. That's somebody who knows what they pay. Or I asked this, I got 4 credit cards. What's the minimum payment on each? Oh, I don't know. They take the minimum payment. If they can send a little bit more, they send a little bit more, and that's what they send in. So they don't really have a budget. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, the people that do that, those are the ones that are in debt. They buy something, they pay the minimum payment, and they spend 7 years paying for the refrigerator that they bought with the credit card.
Mhm.
you know
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
because they paid the minimum payment, and that's where the credit card companies, that's where they get us, right? Because they know that people make the minimum payment, and that's what they get you. That's just the game. And if you don't know how to play that game, you get sucked into that game. You have the consequences of the debt crisis that we're heading into, and it's going to be ugly, the highest it's ever been. The current
I,
credit card debt in America, consumer credit debt in America, is the highest it's ever been.
that's insane. That's insane. So number 10, this is the one I kind of disagree with. Well, not that I disagree with it, but there is a shift, right? After, so it says don't rush the process, right? Buying a home is a big decision, and it's important to take your time and make a well-informed decision. So, okay, that's great. Yeah, definitely don't rush the process. But there's a shift that once you're in it, understanding that time is of the essence, right? So people okay, not rushing the process is okay until it's time to take action and submit
Make a
an offer,
decision. But that's
right?
that's another step, though. That's a different step. I would
Yeah,
separate those two. I would make 10A and 10B.
yeah.
Because I say I'm definitely a fan of don't rush the process.
Hmm.
I don't. I tell buyers when I don't sell anything.
Hmm.
So I'll take a buyer and let's look at your finances. Let's look at your situation. Um, and I'm going to give you the information so you can make a decision.
Yeah.
So, if you're trying to buy a house that's, your budget does not get you there, like it's just not a good decision, I'm going to say, well, listen, you got to consider this because it's not a good decision. I wouldn't feel right, you know, just not telling, you know what I mean? Like just, oh yeah, it's great. Buy the house. It's your dream home. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah,
not, you know, so I'm all about what is your current situation and what are your goals? So
yeah.
because a lot of people don't know their current situation. They go to the doctor, I need a surgery. Where does this hurt? My stomach, you know, take my appendix out. Wait a minute, let's do some tests. Let's figure it out first. You know what I mean? They're not going to just take your appendix out and it could be your gallbladder, you know, so you need to know where you're at now. Take an x-ray of your current situation. So that's the
Mhm.
first step I try to get people to. Not everybody does that because not everybody's interested in that. No, but not everybody wants to hear that. So you can't, you know, so, but for the most part, I try to get people to assess where they're at right now
Mhm.
and for them to where they want to go. Is this your first home? Is this your second home? Are you moving up? Are you going to downsize? Where are you going? And, you know, just what is your future 5 years from now, 7 years from now? What are you thinking? Is this going to be, is this your forever home? Is this your, you know, and then based on that is, okay, let's plan it. Okay. So, cause there's no sense in buying the house. You qualify. What's the rate? Here's the rate. Boom. You qualify, go close on the house. And then that's it. What comes next? So I try to get people to think what comes next. Well, maybe, you know, 5 years, my kids grew up a little bit. I like to go, you know, down or get a bigger house. And okay, so what does that look like? All right. So if we start saving up, you're going to have the down payment. Here's the down payment you're going to need for that house when you move up. And then this house, you're going to, you know, you can rent it and this is how it works, or you can sell it. This is how it works. So people, before they buy this house, I'm already giving a plan of what's next based on what their current assessment of what's next is. That may change, but at least I like to leave people with a plan and say, okay, this is and stay in touch, you know, stay in contact with them throughout after the closing. Because it's not going to be the first home they close, right? So the idea is once they enter my ecosystem, you know, they stay in that ecosystem and I provide them with information along the way for any future, you know, financial or financing needs that they have.
Yeah.
So so the process is, and if I talk to somebody right now and they're not ready, it's not the process. They don't qualify. They don't have all the, you know, they don't have what they need. It's not, you know, good luck. It's really, okay, here's the plan. Here's how we get you there. And, you know, could be a year from now, but
the play-by-play, put me in, coach.
yeah, and this is what you do. And then you're going to buy a house in a year, you know, don't rush the process. Now, 10B is you cannot have paralysis analysis. You need to make a decision. You need
Time
to
is of the essence. Once you do make the decision, it's go time. It's like, hey, provide the lender with all the documents that you need. We need to book the inspection. We need to negotiate after the inspection if necessary. We got to put in that earnest money deposit. And it doesn't matter how many times a lender requests something, even if they're requesting the same thing over and over again, you got to get it back to them in a timely manner. I try to make sure my clients know that from the get-go.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you have a plan, if you provide people with a plan and the person is really looking to, you know, in this case, buy a house, people will follow that plan for the most part because people want to reach their goals. People want to have, you know, be successful and have their home, and you know, they dream about that. It's the American dream, you know, and people need that and want that, you know. I mean, it's a cliche, but it's true. Like
it is. It absolutely is.
People want to, you know, own their home. I mean, it's just you own something, you know, you own your land you live on, and you know, and people want to do that. So if they have somebody who guides them and shows them how to do it, they'll gladly, you know, pay attention and do that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, all right. Well, those are the 10 tips, right? Really quickly, really briefly, we're probably gonna have a full episode on this next week. Let's discuss like the whole financial coaching. I think it's very important for people to have a financial coach, for them to understand their budget. What plans do you have in the future for a workshop? I know you did one. When was it? Was it last in November?
It was the hurricane.
Oh,
So
okay.
I did, yeah. So we had one scheduled, and they had a hurricane, so we had to cancel it because, you know, they closed the place. So that, you know, so it was all whenever the hurricane was, September-ish, whatever that month that was. And then we had to reschedule it, and it was, you know, it was messy. The hurricane kind of threw a little wrinkle into the plans. It was my first experience. I've been through here a couple of hurricanes, but never really got affected. Like, this one was like, I was like, what do you mean? And then it was like during at the time of the seminar, it wasn't even raining. I'm like, it's not even raining. Why are you going to cancel it? But because I knew it was a nightmare. There was a lot of people going. Actually, it was good interest in it. But anyway, the way it's just something I created. It's really not, it's nothing fancy, nothing. It's just information I put together. During the pandemic, I got certified as a Ramsey financial coach, and I got certified as a financial educator, which means I can do like workshops and things like that. For more than one person, and then for financial coaches, like one-on-one.
Yeah.
And I just, I shifted and just had to sort of shift. And I've been doing that throughout my career, kind of helping people, guiding people, but not
officially,
So, I felt that that's the way, at the beginning, again, this was all during the pandemic. I kind of said, oh, you know what, let me put something together. And the reality is I started put it together for church, like to do it at church and just kind of volunteer and help out. I've been doing that as well for a long time, informally, not, nothing, so I got certified. I had the time to do it. I, spent the money to do it. And I started, I've incorporated that into my job, which is being a loan originator. So I just offer that. I don't charge for it. I don't charge any money. I don't make money, doing this for people. My job is a loan officer. That's how I make a living. The financial coach, and I just do it as an add-on, as an additional, service. I provide the buyers, not just the buyers. I mean, if they don't buy, if they work with me, I give them a free financial plan, which is extensive. It's an extensive document. You got to put work into it to do it. And it's a really neat thing. I send them the link, and if I was to sell that, like the retail value of that thing is like $1,500. That's what they sell those for. And you know what? Ask any wealthy person if they have a financial plan, and they're going to say yes. And ask them how long do they do it? And it's every year at least, because that's something that's wealthy people have that. So I said, all right, well, if wealthy people have it, well, why not just everybody? So I found this provider that I have, and I bought this service, and I provide that, and I don't charge people for it. It's just something I do. And then I do, a budget, and I did a course. I recorded a course online, and I give, buyers access to that. And there's a lot of information. I like to provide a lot of information. That's why I'm doing this as well with you. I mean, just recording information and having information available for people. So at some point, if somebody gets helped by it, I'm all for it.
Absolutely. So next week I definitely want to go into further detail with that. And let's see, when do you think you're going to be hosting your next event?
I honestly haven't started. It's in my to-do list, and I haven't started planning it yet. I at the time when I was doing that, I had the time to put together, and I'm like, let me do this. And unfortunately, like I said, the hurricane kind of threw a wrinkle in the plans, and and now, I mean, it's so busy it's there, but I haven't planned it, so I can start planning it, do it. We'll put it together.
All right.
Maybe we do something online.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely going to be there for sure. So we'll get more details on that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any last golden nuggets for the first time home buyers before we sign off?
I mean, I think that all this list is great. All the stuff, the information is great. This is not new. This is out there. But I think really what needs to what the most important thing is, and is what we end up, the last point on, is you need to make a decision. I mean, you need to do the math. And the best tip that I can give a first time home buyer, or somebody who does not currently own a home, and they're paying rent, is don't listen to the hype. Don't listen to the media. We're not trying to sell people and convince people to go buy a house.
Don't listen to someone who hasn't bought a house in over 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I mean, definitely rates are high. Definitely property values are high. I mean, that's a reality. So, we cannot live in the past. We can't say, we have to live. This is the present. This is what we have. And it's either you're paying rent or you're not. there's no different. You have no choice. You have to live somewhere. So if you're paying $2,000, $2,500 a month to live in a house and pay somebody else's mortgage, you can spend the 2,500, maybe a couple of hundred more, and have your own place. And you have a budget, and and then don't drink in Starbucks every day, and then fix your budget and adjust yourself and make some sacrifices and buy your house and start building equity in your home. Because when you're renting, you're already paying the rent, you're billing the equity for the landlord. And not only that, when you're buying a house, you're locking in the price, because you buy you buy a property with a 30-year mortgage, and your rate's not going up. Your rent goes up every year, doesn't go down. I don't know anybody. I've never met anybody. And in the time in my life that I rented, I never met anybody whose landlord, when the lease was up or the year was up, they reduced their rent. I've never met it. That's never happened. It could, but it's never happened.
Historically, over the last 30 years plus, rents have not gone down.
But they don't go down. Why would they go down? How would they go down? Why would they go down? If I have somebody else paying my mortgage and I'm making money, and they're already paying me X, let me reduce it. That's
I don't need as much money for my retirement.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's just, but when you buy,
things aren't getting more expensive around here.
I mean, some people help others, but that's what I mean. It's not something that rent does not go down, but you get a 30-year mortgage. Now, granted, if you buy now, it's at 7% and the rates go down. Yes, you do refi because you lower the payment. But you don't refi into another 30-year mortgage. If you refi, 2 years from now, don't do a 30-year, do a 25-year mortgage, right? If you can afford it, cut a couple of, years off the mortgage and actually put yourself in a better place. So your payment's going to stay the same. What will change? Property taxes, that could increase. Your homeowner's insurance, that could increase. But your mortgage payment, principal and interest will not change for the life alone unless you refinance. When you pay rent, you do not have that. That's just not a thing. So you may not be paying this year $2,700, using the same example that I used earlier, the same amount of money, but in 3 or 4 years you will be over $2,700, because the rent will increase over time and you will be higher than that. So it's all math. You just have to, one of my favorite lines, it's liars figure, but figures don't lie. If you see the numbers in front of you, it's there. I mean, and you make an educated decision based on numbers, based on figures. So now is the time to buy. Don't wait.
All righty then. So that's all we have for you today, folks. Robert Murillo, broker associate with Team Aroa at Powered by Compass, Florida. License number BK3373543. With John
Sepulveda, Origin Point, NMLS 1309244. We will talk to you next week on the next episode of the DM.
Make sure you slide into the DM from Monday through Friday, every day of the week. Alrighty.
Talk to you later, everybody.